This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Teed off, some Mabou residents vowed to fight back against a proposed golf course at a provincial park. Canada's team, the Toronto Blue Jays, are one win away from another World Series title. And trick or treat, this horse near Windsor has a unique way of delivering a Halloween candy.
And the rain is pushing out, but the winds are turning up. I'll let you know what to expect for the weekend forecast coming up.
Good evening. Some residents in Mabou are planning to push back against a proposed golf course for the area, and they're calling out the government for withholding information about the proposal from the public. Kyle Moore reports.
Minister. The Nova Scotia government says they are open for business and are not turning anyone away.
I truly believe that we can have economic benefit and we can still protect the beautiful parts of this province.
One part of this province is West Mabou Beach. Cabot Golf has submitted a proposal to the province to develop an 18-hole golf course within the boundaries of West Mabou Beach Provincial Park.
If a company comes into Nova Scotia and says we have an idea, I think it would be irresponsible to not listen. So we're listening.
But Doug Lowry feels Tim Houston is not listening to the residents.
This stinks. It stunk from the very beginning. I don't think there's any legitimacy to this process. The community is absolutely outraged about what's going on.
NDP leader Claudia Chander, who recently toured the Mabou area, said the government has a poor track record when it comes to protected areas and community consultation.
And their track record of doing favors for corporate interests that have deep pockets is excellent.
This is the third attempt Cabot Golf has made to access the provincial park for a development. In 2023, then Natural Resources Minister Tory Rushton and Houston told Cabot officials to not even bother submitting a proposal because a golf course was not a permitted use under the Provincial Parks Act. Lowry says residents are planning to push back.
We're prepared to do what it takes to ensure that this doesn't go forward and that the interests of the community are represented in whatever decision is made.
Kim Maslin says just because you have a conversation doesn't mean it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. She says it's a conversation. Kyle Moore, CBC News, Sydney.
Nova Scotia's education minister says a long-awaited update to guidelines on supporting transgender and non-binary students is no longer needed. The minister says a new code of conduct addresses discrimination and fills in the gaps that existed in the gender policy. Taryn Grant reports.
Two LGBTQ+ advocates say Nova Scotia is being too quiet on the topic of gender in schools.
It's really important that right now our government takes a stand, steps out of the closet and out of the shadows and really demands better in our schools when it comes to trans children and youth and the services that they're receiving.
Nova Scotia has guidelines for supporting trans and non-binary students that were introduced in 2014. They say students should be able to use preferred names and pronouns and be protected from discrimination. The Gender Justice Coalition says society has changed in the past decade and the guidelines need to be expanded. The province was working on updates, but the education minister says plans have changed. He says updates that were being discussed have now been woven into the general school code of conduct.
This is something I'm really passionate about. Our kids have the right, the absolute right, to feel safe in our schools. They have a right to an inclusive teaching environment, and not just our students, but our staff and our teachers. So now what we have are two, I think, very powerful tools.
Maguire says the guidelines set expectations, and the code of conduct lays out consequences if those expectations are not met.
It's not enough to just have things in the code of conduct. We actually need to see more formal and permanent upholding of all of our rights, our human rights.
Members of the Gender Justice Coalition are calling on the province to adopt more explicit policy on gender issues. Maguire was explicit in his comments that he supports trans and non-binary students, but whether that's reflected in government action is what the coalition debates. Taryn Grant, CBC News, Halifax.
A 70-year-old man is dead following what Halifax police are calling a homicide. Police say they were called to a home on Richmond Street in the North End on Wednesday afternoon about a report of an injured man. Life-saving measures were performed by paramedics, but the man was pronounced dead. The Nova Scotia Medical Examiner Service conducted an autopsy yesterday and confirmed the death to be homicide. Police are still investigating. A proposed new Mi'kmaq Cultural Centre project received an additional $9 million today from the federal government. Construction of the Mi'kma'ki de Burt building could start as soon as this summer. The 3,000 square meter cultural centre is also being built to net zero carbon standard. Executive Director Tim Bernard says the public opening is still on track for November of 2028.
So it's a 2-year build process from July, and we need the facility to be open for 6 months. We need to commission the building before we can return artifacts home.
Artifacts are coming from the Canadian Museum of Natural History and the American Museum of the Indian. Today's announcement brings the federal contribution to $20 million. A Colchester County developer is readying plans for thousands of housing units. At an open house this week, Five Corners property staff told residents they anticipate the project could come to council in the coming months. The Bible Hill project was first presented to Colchester Council in 2024 and referred to planning staff. The multi-phase plan occupies just over 63 hectares and could see up to 2,500 units built. There are plans for single-family homes, duplexes, apartment buildings, and businesses.
This is going to be a 20-year project. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's 20 years worth of employment that somebody can actually create roots right here and continue working here rather than moving away. And then the other side is all these young people, which we all know are living in their mother's basement and father's basement and stuff like that. It's an opportunity to find something to actually move into. So, we believe we're doing the right thing here.
If approvals are received, the first phase of the Bible Hill project could break ground next year. And we've got Tina Simpkin in for us tonight. And wow, a wet and windy day today.
It really was. And the winds are not done with us yet, although the heavy rain has been done in the western tip of the province for quite some time. And it's taking its good old time moving off towards the east. Here's the latest radar picture, and you can really see how the western half of Nova Scotia is really cleared out, but that really isn't the case across Cape Breton, where the heaviest rain is still falling, and it will be pushing out over the next couple of hours, making for a very wet trick-or-treat. Now, in areas where we're seeing the clearing skies, we can't rule out a shower or two as we head into the evening hours, but generally speaking, the sky should start tapering off as far as the rain is concerned. But check out some of these winds. Very, very brisk. Still seeing those Lay-Souette wind warnings and wind gusts in the Lay-Souette wind region. Right now, gusting over 100 kilometers per hour. The western half of the province seeing temperatures pretty mild, but those gusts anywhere from 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. Now, I'd like to say the winds are going to calm down overnight, but that is not going to be the case. Those winds are going to continue to increase. They'll change direction, becoming more westerly, but those winds will eventually subside by tomorrow, and then the temperatures start to get cool. We'll talk about the rest of the weekend forecast coming up in a bit.
All right, thank you, Tina. Well, the Toronto Blue Jays could win it all tonight. They face the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 6 of the World Series. The Jays are up 3-2, so if they win tonight, it's over. They will claim their first World Series in over 30 years, since 1993. Fans in Toronto and all around the country are rooting for Canada's team, and they are delirious with anticipation.
Never as a fan have we got this far, and I didn't think this was even on the table.
I don't think my nerves could take a Game 7, so I'm really hoping they pull it off tonight.
It might be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Went 32 years since the last time, and who knows?
There's no doubt Blue Jays bats are red hot going into Game 6, but to win the World Series tonight, they'll have to beat the only Dodgers ace to freeze them out, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Kevin Gausman pitches for Toronto, hoping to lead the Jays to victory. The game is in Toronto. First pitch is 9 o'clock. And tickets to Game 6 were hard to come by, even so, some tens of thousands of dollars. But two fans from Halifax, Jim Abraham and his son Jamie, were able to snatch some up. They flew into Toronto today, and CBC caught up with them outside the Rogers Centre before the big game to talk about their excitement and how they were able to score the tickets.
Well, I was at a curling event, my nephew, in Wolfville, Nova Scotia last week, and I said to my wife, we should try to get tickets. They go on sale at 11 o'clock Halifax time. And so I got online, and she got online. We were waiting, and popped up. She was 44,000 in the queue. I was 1,911 in the queue. 15 minutes later, bang, I got the list of tickets that were available. 2 of them in the 200 level.
Wow.
I snapped them up. I said to my wife, should I buy them? Of course you should buy them. Bang, got them, and I picked game 6.
Yes.
Because I thought there'd be a better chance of getting tickets in game 6, and then praying that there would be a game 6.
Absolutely.
So this is amazing. Very excited because the Jays have the momentum, the Jays have the chemistry, but the Jays have the magic. And so I think it's the magic that's going to be worked tonight. Tonight, we're going to see the World Series trophy presented to the Jays tonight.
And the Toronto Blue Jays' run to the World Series has also created some unexpected connections between complete strangers in Nova Scotia. You may remember Debbie Rayfuse, who's been interviewed several times by CBC News during the Jays' magical postseason this year. Well, after appearing on CBC Radio's The Current earlier this month, Rayfuse received a message from a woman in New Glasgow who wanted to give her some Blue Jays memorabilia. She didn't know what to expect when she received a small envelope, but opened it to find a ticket to the first ever Blue Jays game nearly 50 years ago.
Well, I was very close to tears, actually, because it just shows that this lady is putting trust in me to actually look after something that is just was so important to her because it belonged to her dad, and her dad is now passed. And for her to give it to me, it gave me quite the cold shivers. And I just wanted to let that lady know that I wanted to thank her from the bottom of my heart, and I will very much so look after this.
Rayfuse says she can't believe the ticket has been kept in such great condition, and the only thing more surprising is the fact it only cost $6.50 to go to a game in 1977. A community near Windsor is going all out for Halloween. Residents are delivering candy to trick-or-treaters in a very unique way. The CBC's Jane Sponigal has more.
Here it comes. Catch it. Whoa! Okay, Sloan, you come on up.
Trick-or-treating is the highlight of Halloween, and residents of The Crossing, a retirement community near Windsor, Nova Scotia, are upping the stakes. This trick is how ghouls and goblins will get their treats, in one end and out the other.
Trick or treat! Our horse is semi-retired. He loves Halloween, but he's a very quiet, shy horse, and he stays in the barn all year. He only comes out to help the children enjoy Halloween here at the Crossing.
The horse first made an appearance during COVID. Instead of canceling trick-or-treating, it ensured Luigis and princesses stayed 6 feet apart.
I mean, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird in a good way.
The horse is stabled at the entrance to the crossing, saving trick-or-treaters from trekking to every house.
A lot of candy!
We are crazy busy at 4:30. We are crazy busy at 8:30 because they hit here and then do their community, or they leave us to the end before they do their community because they get so much. But we love it. The kids come and we have a blast.
Residents pool their candy, nearly 20,000 chocolate bars and bags of chips. Then volunteers saddled up to make 415 treat bags.
This majestic creature has been a main attraction in West Hants for a number of years, but hold your horses, it doesn't have a name.
Now organizers are chomping at the bit to change that. They're starting a contest for kids to give the horse a moniker. That comes with a prize of $100.
What do you think the horse should be named?
Rainbow.
Crockett says entries can be emailed to her until November 7th.
And we'll announce the winner.
Maybe by next Halloween, the horse with no name will have one. Jane Sponigal, CBC News, Garland's Crossing.
Wow, got it.
Yeah, it sure is spooky out there. Tina's up next with the full weather forecast. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
This weather update is brought to you in part by Atlantic Lottery's iGames. Play hundreds of games on the Atlantic Lottery app or at alc.ca.
And Tina's back with her full forecast. Okay, you and Ryan switched shifts.
We
so
did.
He could go with his kids trick-or-treating,
Yeah.
and he was hoping the rain was going to stop in time for that, and
Trick-or-treat?
it did work,
Yeah, it
at least
did.
for this part of the province.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just peeking out the window and I saw a couple little ghosts
Oh,
and goblins going through the streets. So they're out there.
Not wearing the garbage bags.
No, but I'm sure some are, especially in the eastern mainland through to Cape Breton, where it is still pretty windy and it's still rainy and the rain's coming down at a pretty good rate. Most of the rain is over for the mainland, but having said that, there are still a few scattered showers. Now, the radar is showing those pockets of very heavy rain. Now, this is over the last 6 hours, but you can see how the clearing started in western Nova Scotia from Yarmouth to Digby to Lunenburg earlier this morning, actually towards the lunchtime hour, and then it slowly pushed its way off towards the east. And right now, the heaviest pockets of rain are falling in the eastern mainland, so the easternmost parts of Guysborough County now pushing their way into Cape Breton. And there is a whole lot of rain falling, and the winds, they're not cooperating as well. They're still pretty high, but you can see most of the wind speeds now are the highest are going on across Cape Breton. We're in the Lay-Souet wind region. Just even a half hour ago, they were gusting about 102 kilometers per hour, now down to about 85 kilometers per hour. That's still gusty winds. Where we've cleared out, the winds have become more westerly, and you can see that averaging 30, gusting up to 50 kilometers per hour. And as we go into the evening hours, I'd like to say these winds are going to calm down and subside, but that's not going to be the case. Those winds are going to actually increase. It was courtesy of a couple of areas of low pressure. The first one being over parts of Quebec, that's where it's centered, but the remnants of Melissa really added to some of the moisture to the system and certainly some of the energy. Melissa continues to track off towards the north and east. The forward speed of this thing was about 70 kilometers per hour, so it's whipping off towards the north and east, and we've got an area of low pressure back to the west, and it's a really strong area of low pressure. So as it pushes in, and we get on the backside of this system, the winds are going to initially come out of the west, like we're seeing in the western half of the province, but then northwesterly winds are going to kick in towards the end of the weekend, and that's when they're going to finally start to subside. Temperatures right now still pretty mild, ranging anywhere from 13 in Yarmouth to Sydney, and we have some 12s and 13s and 15s in between. So again, a very mild day with the winds and the rain. On average, most saw about 30 millimeters of rain, on average 20 to 40 millimeters of rain, but there were some pockets, especially along the South Shore, where we were closer to that 50 mark. Overnight tonight, most of the temperatures are going to drop anywhere from, say, 5. A little bit warmer across Cape Breton, only because that system is still pushing its way out slowly but surely. And see what happens tomorrow. The winds are still going to be high, but they'll slowly start subsiding as we go into the afternoon, and wouldn't rule out some scattered showers even into the afternoon across most of Cape Breton. The rest of the mainland will keep a chance for a shower tomorrow morning, and then clearing skies in the afternoon. And we should all clear out quite nicely as we go into our Sunday. But until then, we'll keep the showers in the Cape Breton forecast for tomorrow, and then showers for the mainland during the day, but then clearing skies into the afternoon. I still think we'll be able to hold on to double-digit temperatures tomorrow, but that double-digit temperature reading is short-lived, because as we go towards the end of the weekend and into the next week, we're going to start seeing things change. So tomorrow morning for the mainland, AM showers, and it'll stay windy throughout the day. But for Cape Breton, those scattered showers will stay in the forecast not only for the morning, but into the afternoon as well. And the winds are still going to be gusty, anywhere from 40 gusting up to 70 kilometers per hour in the morning, and then slowly subsiding to around 30, gusting up to 60 kilometers per hour for the better part of the afternoon. We're back to sunshine on Sunday. The clouds will be on the increase on Monday. We've got some showers pushing through Monday night into Tuesday, another break on Wednesday, and then more rain back into the forecast on Thursday and Friday. So we're really starting to see this pattern change. Over the course of the summer, we couldn't buy a system to come anywhere near us, and now we have 3 on the way for the beginning of next week. So we're looking good as far as getting caught up, or at least making a dent on our rainfall deficit.
Yeah, we sure need it. All right, thanks for that, Tina.
You're welcome.
Well, speaking of this summer's hot, dry weather, it took its toll on the supply of processing potatoes on Prince Edward Island, and it's forcing Cavendish Farms to start importing replacements. The company estimates it will ship in 200 million pounds, starting with ones coming from Manitoba. The CBC's Nancy Russell explains.
Cavendish Farms has started bringing in potatoes to make up for the shortfall on Prince Edward Island. A summer of dry weather meant the processing giant needed to look elsewhere.
We received around a third or 30% of our rainfall through the crucial months of July, August and September, and that's had a massive impact on yields.
Bristow says Cavendish will continue to bring in potatoes until next July to have enough to meet their needs for French fries and other products. These potatoes are from Manitoba, but they will also be importing from Maine, New Brunswick, Quebec and Alberta.
We're going to have to bring in around 200 million pounds, so 3,600 loads, just to meet those customer commitments. And the unfortunate part is all of that is revenue lost to PEI and the industry on PEI.
Cavendish is now encouraging its growers to add irrigation to try to lessen the impact of the drier summers PEI has been experiencing. The company is offering $100,000 grants for growers to install irrigation systems.
Ideally, we'd like to get to 30 to 50% of the processing acres.
The PEI Potato Board says its growers are looking at many ways to reduce the impact of drier summers, like improving soil health and adding cover crops to hold moisture in the soil, and growing new, more drought-resistant varieties. The board says irrigation is just one piece.
It'll need to increase, but I'll make it very clear, the amount that we irrigate here will be dictated by how much water we can use responsibly without impacting our resource, our streams, our environment.
Cavendish Farms says without irrigation, PEI potatoes will continue to come up short.
Because every year that goes by and we run into these conditions again is another year that we're going to have failed crops or shortage of crops.
It's definitely going to be a very challenging winter for many farmers.
The PEI Potato Board says most PEI growers participate in crop insurance programs that will provide some compensation, but won't make up entirely for the losses caused by the drought conditions in 2025. Nancy Russell, CBC News, New Annan.
Coming up, Halifax's Jamaican community comes together to send aid to the island in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. Fundraising efforts are underway for hurricane-ravaged Jamaica, including here at Gloria's International Grocery in Dartmouth. And I'm here with store owner Sean Montague. So, first of all, you've got family and friends back in Jamaica. Have you been able to reach out to them?
It took us some time, but we are able to reach out to everyone now. They're okay, but the situation there is very bad.
Tell me about that. What are they dealing with?
Power outages, loss of homes, loss of supplies, loss of everything.
And what was it like for them going through the storm?
It's like we've never experienced something like that before, so that no one knew what to expect. Seeing their neighbors' houses blow away, seeing people losing everything, farmers losing their chickens, losing their livestock, losing their clothes, flooding roads, bridges, things destroyed that was never destroyed in storms that we've experienced before.
Well, we're hearing it's not a restoration, it's a rebuilding.
It has to be a rebuilding. We have to start from the foundation up now.
So you've got an effort underway to try and help. Tell me about how that idea came to you.
Well, we have the store. Most of the Jamaicans already shop to this store. We have a logistic company as well. So we've been shipping things to Jamaica for people who want to support their family. So now we just start putting those two together. We have the community, strong community here in Halifax wanting to help. But the effort started with the community, but now we're asking for people outside of the community. We're asking for Canada to help us because the situation there is very bad.
What do folks need?
Baby supplies, non-perishables, hospital gowns. They've lost everything, so I cannot think of what they don't need at this moment. So whatever people can supply them with, we're really appreciative of that.
So you were saying you already have the shipping set up. So how much of an advantage is that?
That's a big advantage. XIP Logistics, that's my brother's company. We already ship things to Jamaica, so we have that in place. So shipping the barrel, we already know the step by step. We just heard that the government will be waiving the custom fee, so it would be an easy shipment. And we're also offering discounts to people who want to send directly to their families so they can ship there cheaper.
For folks who are interested in stopping by, how long are you going to be collecting?
Well, the final day for this collection is going to be November 30. So people who are interested, they have now until then to come and drop off whatever supply they think would be fit. We'll be posting new sheets as it go along because we know that efforts have been made all over the world. So as the sheets are updated, we can see what people need the most, and those are the things that we'll be asking people to bring along.
And we've seen some folks come here already. Are you expecting that to just build as the weekend comes?
We're expecting that to build. It's been going great so far. People, as you can see, is coming to donate because they wanted to help, but they didn't know how to. So with this store being here that they are familiar with, it was easy for them to come and say, okay, we can drop things here. And we are also getting people who want to volunteer to pick up stuff from schools, churches, business places. They too can come along and gather in one place and then can drop it here for us to send to Jamaica.
Well, what is your message to folks who are listening to this tonight?
The message to folks that are listening tonight is let's unite to rebuild. That's as basic I can put it. Reunite from all over the world because the situation there is worse than we've ever seen before. Yes.
All right. Well, best of luck with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for reaching out to us, and thank you so much for coming today.
Coming up, Prime Minister Carney says Canada's relationship with China has reached a turning point after a one-on-one meeting with President Xi Jinping. And Canada's tourism industry had a record-breaking summer. New numbers show hotels, attractions, and tour operators had their busiest season ever. We'll look at what's behind the boom. Welcome back. As we told you earlier, the Toronto Blue Jays are looking to win it all. They face the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight in Game 6 of the World Series. And if they win either tonight or tomorrow, they become World Series champions. The CBC's Thomas Dagla is at the Rogers Centre.
Well, here we are at Rogers Centre, potentially the site of the Blue Jays' third franchise World Series win. It would only be the second time ever that the World Series would be won on Canadian soil. It is Game 6 of this World Series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Fans have been lining up outside the stadium for hours, either because they want to get their hands on that World Series merchandise, perhaps before the series is over, or simply to get the best spot in the general admission sections of this stadium on this historic night. Fan excitement is through the roof.
It's electric. It's indescribable. Like, everybody's just totally amped up.
I was hoping that maybe one of the staff thought I actually was Davis Schneider and just let me in to get started on warming up, but no such luck.
In 1993, we saw everybody flood out on the streets, jumping on cars. The spirit is here, and I think we're going to do it.
Now, this is the same pitching matchup tonight as we saw in Game 2 here at Rogers Centre. The Los Angeles Dodgers sending Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who has been so strong in the postseason, pitching back-to-back complete games. He will look for a third straight postseason complete game, if you can imagine that. He really had his way with the Blue Jays in Game 2, keeping them to one run through 9 innings. Kevin Gausman being sent to the mound, the veteran ace for the Blue Jays. He's also had a very good postseason, but the Jays ended up, of course, losing that Game 2, looking for continued momentum tonight after 2 wins on the road in Los Angeles, looking to clinch the World Series tonight. Here's Jays manager John Schneider speaking before tonight's game.
You know, I think that we've done a good job of adjusting against good pitchers when we see them again. He's tough, man.
Now, clearly, the Blue Jays have done away with any perception that they are the underdogs. Remember, at the very start of the World Series, there was this talk of David and Goliath, the Jays being David, the Dodgers being Goliath, and, of course, the reigning World Series champions from last year. But they've done away with that. They're now the odds-on favorites to win the World Series. The question is, will the series be done tonight or tomorrow? If the Jays lose, the Dodgers force a Game 7 here at Rogers Centre on Saturday night. Either way, if the Jays can clinch this at home, you can bet fans will be spilling out into the streets and celebrating all night. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is calling it a turning point in Canada's relationship with China. His one-on-one meeting with President Xi Jinping at an APEC summit in South Korea. There are no breakthroughs to report, but Carney has accepted an invitation to visit China. Rafi Boudjikanian is traveling with the Prime Minister.
A handshake with a country where a cold shoulder has been the norm for years.
Our countries have a long history of cooperation, engagement, and trade. 55 years of diplomatic relations marked the anniversary 2 weeks ago. In recent years, we have not been as engaged.
There has been no formal sit-down between a Canadian leader and Chinese President Xi Jinping since 2017, and plenty of clashes between Beijing and Ottawa since. The Canadian Parliament has accused China of genocide for its treatment of its minority Uyghur population. And in January, a public inquiry into foreign interference concluded Beijing was the main state actor interfering in 2 recent Canadian elections. Xi congratulated Carney on his recent election victory, also saying he wants to work with Canada to re-establish relations.
I don't think there's a prime minister out there who would have been in a position to have some kind of a reset of the relationship immediately.
This observer says enough time has passed for the 2 countries to start talking again.
For Canada, the imperative to diversify our trading relationships on quite an urgent basis is there, since the arrival of the Trump administration.
For the Prime Minister, meanwhile, this is just the start.
We now have a turning point in the relationship, a turning point that creates opportunities for Canadian families, for Canadian businesses, and Canadian workers.
Carney has also accepted an invitation from Xi to China himself at what the Prime Minister's office calls a mutually convenient time. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Gyeongju.
The Canadian economy shrank in the month of August. The latest numbers from StatsCan show a decline of 0.3%. The agency says the hardest hit sectors were manufacturing, wholesale trade, and mining. That is mainly from U.S. tariffs. The work stoppage by Air Canada flight attendants hampered air transportation. StatsCan says early signs suggest the economy barely managed any growth in the third quarter. Well, to boost energy or beat a hangover, some Canadians are hooking up to IV therapy. These wellness clinics are a booming business, but researchers warn there's little regulation and big potential health risks. The CBC's Lauren Pelly has more.
Social media is filled with ads for intravenous therapy, cocktails of vitamins and supplements that cost hundreds of dollars and get injected right into someone's veins.
The growth that you're seeing probably is in part because there is so little regulatory oversight.
This researcher studied the booming business of IV therapy south of the border. He found less than a third of clinics required consultation with a licensed medical professional before treatment or described the potential health risks.
If consumers are going to go off and use these, particularly often without their doctors even knowing that they're using these, we have to make sure that the safeguards are in place, that nobody gets hurt.
The risks can include potential cross-contamination, adverse reactions, or even serious infections.
Good morning. Good morning.
At this wellness center in Mississauga, team members told us they adhere to strict safety standards for their IV offerings, including a sterile environment, patient exams, and vital checks. But this naturopath says one customer told her she passed out during a session at a different facility after being given a partially frozen IV bag.
This really concerns us as providers of this treatment because it can be very dangerous for the patient.
Across Canada, CBC News found private IV clinics often fall into a regulatory gray zone, similar to the U.S. Health Canada authorizes intravenous health products, while a patchwork of provincial watchdogs monitor workers, such as naturopaths, physicians, or registered nurses. Only some regulators actually inspect the clinics directly.
Unfortunately, I think these IV clinics, they're falling through the cracks.
One of Canada's top experts on health and wellness trends says the bigger issue is there's often no evidence backing up claims about health benefits.
I think that these products should be viewed as a major red flag.
Doctors told us if you're sick, seek medical advice. And if you're healthy, there's typically no need for any type of intravenous therapy. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Canada's tourism industry had a record-breaking summer. New figures show hotels, attractions, and tour operators had their busiest season ever, and revenues hit all-time highs. Kyle Bax looks at what's behind the boost.
Up, down, and around the mountains in southwest Alberta, Brent Coinberg has never taken so many travelers on guided tours.
The tourism this summer was really good for me. We probably quadrupled how many tours we did and how many people we took through.
Business was booming with nearly half of his customers from abroad. He's not alone, as it was a banner year across the country. New figures from Destination Canada estimate record high revenue for the tourism industry this past summer, nearly $60 billion, up 6% compared to last year, with most regions in the country experiencing a tourism bump.
We look at a metric called forward bookings, and for the past few months and months before the summertime, we were seeing bookings growing from all of our target international markets and from Canadians who are looking to travel domestically.
Much of the tourism spending in Canada was by Canadians, as many choose to spend their travel dollars at home, fueled by national pride amid a trade war with the U.S. and Donald Trump's threats to annex Canada. Domestic tourism was up 7%. At the same time, revenue from overseas travelers climbed even higher, a 10% jump compared to last summer. One notable drop was from the U.S., a slight decrease of about 2%.
It was down, as we were expecting to see.
Regardless, it will be a summer to remember in the tourism sector and financially providing a much-needed economic boost for the country. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
Inuit women and gender diverse people say a grassroots social media campaign is giving them courage and support to come forward with accusations of sexual and physical abuse against the CEO of the Manitoba Inuit Association. Karen Pauls has more, and just a warning, this story may affect those who've been impacted by sexual violence.
I was a young teenager and I was so confused and totally caught off guard.
36-year-old Ruth Gustow wishes she'd gone to police more than 20 years ago when she alleges Nastanya Mullen, most recently CEO of the Manitoba Inuit Association, sexually assaulted her in his mother's Iqaluit home while she was visiting his younger sister, her best friend.
That could have just saved so many other people. Like, I cry for those other people that are too scared to come forward.
Gustow and another woman are filing formal complaints with the police. None of the allegations have been proven, and Mullen has not been charged. It's all part of a growing social media campaign dubbed #InuitMeToo. Inuit singer and author Tanya Tagaq is using her voice to amplify the movement. She is not one of those disclosing alleged abuse.
I can do my best to be a megaphone because I know how scary it is to come forward.
Nearly 1,300 people have signed a petition calling on the Manitoba Inuit Association to do an independent, trauma-informed investigation into the allegations against Mullen.
We started this petition because silence is no longer an option. It was a scream for justice.
Prominent Inuit organizations and women say survivors need to be believed.
I feel that it is the time for us to also speak out on behalf of people who are not able to speak for themselves.
This advocate is trying to support those coming forward.
As silent as these women have felt over the years, now it's so loud, it's deafening. We want to make sure that these women never feel like they have to be silenced again.
Ruth Gustow says that's exactly why she's sharing her story publicly.
I just want other people to feel safe enough to tell their truth.
The Manitoba Inuit Association says it has appointed an interim CEO, but it won't answer questions about Mullen's status or if it's investigating the allegations. When we reached Mullen by phone, he said he had no comment he can make at this time. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
An incredible fossil find to tell you about. The skeleton of ancient species of rhinoceros has been discovered in the most unexpected place, Canada's far north. Annan Ram has details about our country's polar rhino.
A pony in the winter was specifically the wording that I used.
But it's actually a rhino. Yes, an ancient 23-million-year-old distant relative of these animals. Same size as an Indian rhino, but likely furry and with one pointy feature missing.
Modern rhinos have horns, but actually a lot of rhinos in the past did not have horns. In fact, it was closely related to species that lived in Europe.
But how did this newly named species, Epiatheracerium itgiluk, get from Europe to what's now Devon Island in Nunavut?
There was a land bridge connecting basically over from Northern Europe, up over to Greenland and into the Arctic islands of Canada. We hypothesized that this animal was either crossing on land or what little water did exist between those islands.
Okay, so here we have a fragment and it's a piece of rib.
The fossils were discovered decades ago and were carefully studied at the Canadian Museum of Nature.
Probably the back of that skull.
The patience of paleontologists, like doing a jigsaw puzzle without the back of the box.
You're looking at other descriptions of skeletons and using that as your guide to figure out where the pieces might go. But on the side, we have a table of scraps that we couldn't figure out where they fit.
But even with 75% of the complete skeleton, these fossils are changing the view on how these animals moved around our planet millions of years ago.
The bridge across the North Atlantic was probably active for upwards of 20 million years longer than what we initially thought it was. And to me, that's pretty interesting and pretty exciting.
suggesting these polar rhinos followed their hornless noses across continents for the best food. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
Incredible. Well, strength in the real estate sector helped Canada's main stock index close higher today, while U.S. markets also gained ground. Here's a look at some of the numbers as we head to break. This is Nova Scotia. And this is Nova Scotia on your smart TV, because CBC News is now streaming local. Local news and weather on your connected TV or favorite device. CBC News Nova Scotia, streaming now.
This weather update is brought to you in part by Atlantic Lottery's iGames. Play hundreds of games on the Atlantic Lottery app or at alc.ca.
So rain in some parts for the trick-or-treaters, but as you said earlier, it could have been snow.
It is that time of year, isn't it?
True.
I was looking at some of the long-range forecasts for next week, and it does look like timing is everything.
Mhm.
And just even as close as New Brunswick, it looked like there could be that snow mix.
Oh, it's too soon.
Thursday night into Friday, but that's way out there. It did clear up for most of the trick-or-treaters, at least as far as the rainfall and the rainfall totals and the heavy rain. But most of the rain is now continuing to push off towards the east, and we still have some pockets of very heavy rain going on across Cape Breton in company with the winds, but clearing out quite nicely in the western two-thirds, I should say, of the province. Now, there are more scattered showers back to the west, and we'll continue to keep scattered showers in the forecast overnight tonight. And you can see where the winds are coming from. We have more of a southerly wind across Cape Breton with some very high gusts. And on average, those winds are gusting anywhere from 30, gusting up to 50 kilometers per hour from the southwest, but they'll become more westerly as we get into the overnight hours, and they're not going to let up. In fact, if anything, they're going to increase tonight. 40 gusting up to 70 kilometers per hour along areas of the coast. And the winds will continue to be gusty through the overnight hours. Temperatures dropping down to around 6 degrees. It can't rule out a scattered shower or two. And that's the same as for tomorrow. Keeping the showers in the morning forecast with the exception of Cape Breton. And we'll keep those shower chances at least in the forecast for the entire day. The temperature should stay fairly mild though. Daytime highs around 10 degrees. A little bit cooler on Sunday with a northwesterly wind that won't be as breezy as what we're going to experience on Saturday. And then we do have some systems heading in our direction Monday night into Tuesday, and then another one Thursday into Friday. All of these systems bringing us more rain where we couldn't get a drop of it a couple of months ago. Now we have plenty of opportunities to
there's
see
no
rain.
balance, is there?
There's
All
not.
right. Well, finally tonight, we're going to go back in time over 30 years ago to the Blue Jays' last World Series win. Yeah, this was the scene in Toronto 32 years ago, and the unofficial fan chant song, Whoop, there it is. Many may remember that one. Fans spilled out into downtown. They were climbing lampposts, others losing a few articles of clothing. And of course, police were out in force to keep the party at bay.
And if the Blue Jays win tonight, we could see a similar scene as the city and the Toronto Police Force brace for another huge celebration. And to make things more complicated, it's Halloween night as well.
Yeah, busy, busy time. All right, well, that is it for us tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.